Day 941 off the grid. I've got a couple of little projects on today, and hopefully if I complete them in time, might do a bit more on the trench, but let's look at what's in hand at the moment. I've decided it's time to replace this old starter battery over here with this gel battery I picked up a couple of months ago from the garage. This is the 24 volt bank that feeds the freezer, and it's actually been working really well, but I just think if I swap that battery I'll get a little bit more out of it, and I've been meaning to put this one there for a while. So yeah, swap batteries, no problem. These are mainly gel batteries, so the charge voltages are all set up for gels anyway, although that has survived on there. And speaking of gels, I've got these two gel batteries here, which is my 12 volt backup batteries, and we've been leaning on them quite a bit throughout this winter period. Now the problem with these has always been that they are super sensitive to charging voltage, even for a gel battery, which is anyway, and they do this thing which I call frothing, where some liquid bubbles up underneath these vent caps. See, there you go. If I push on there you can see it a little bit, and it does that whenever the voltage into them is just slightly high. These used to originally be the lighting batteries, and it's always done that until I took steps to control it. And if you look at some of my really early videos, you can see some crazy ones about taming the Morningstar. I'll say no more about that now. But anyway, today I'm going to do some changes here to improve the charging voltage on these, and it's going to involve the old tractor battery out in the battery box outside. Just wanted to film the existing setup before I start changing it. So there's the batteries there, they just come off. This is the charge controller, the Sunkeeper 2. It's being fed through this 100 watt, well, fog light or something, just so that it doesn't put too much current through the Sunkeeper. Which could handle about 12 amps, I think. Yeah, rated 12 amps, it says so. 12 amps. And then it comes down here to the batteries. What my plan to do is to feed the output of this charge controller into a battery that can handle a higher voltage, such as a flooded wet cell, which is out there in the battery box, and then parallel that with these, but through a diode to drop the voltage down so they never see the full voltage at top of charge. It sort of limits the voltage there. That's my scheme. If I just put a diode directly in between here to cut the voltage down, things won't work out so well, because the charge controller then won't be able to see the battery, and it will complain bitterly about that, I am sure. See, at one point here I even had these diodes which actually increased the voltage of the charge controller when I had different batteries down here. They were flooded batteries, and they've been subsequently bypassed all this time. I thought about removing them, but now that I'm doing this I may need them again. We'll see. But these ones are to boost the voltage, and what they basically do is just jack up the ground, the same as what you do with a 3-terminal regulator. If you've got, say, a 5 volt regulator and you want 5.6 volts out of it, you put a diode in the common line. Yeah, same deal really, but the diode here is actually going to be in series with the charging current, and it will drop the voltage. You'll see more of that when it's done, but I just wanted to show what's currently here. This orange wire is a 15 watt amorphous solar panel on the roof, and it comes down currently, and it's been this way for quite a while. Here it is, clip leaded here through a Schottky diode sitting inside of here. You can't see it, it's a little Schottky diode, 1 amp diode, but that's enough for this panel. And it's connected to this cable and this blue cable here, which runs outside, and we'll go outside now to the battery box, where we've got this tractor battery basically just being topped up from that 15 watt panel with one of these cheap and cherry desulfators running on it. Whether that's done any good or not, I have no idea, but it's handy as an occasional voltmeter if you just disconnect it, reconnect it. When it boots up for a brief period, it tells you the voltage of the battery, 13.8. It's not highly accurate, but it's a guide. So today I'm going to disconnect this stuff, strip all that stuff out, use the 15 watt panel in a more useful role, although it's been good here doing this. I mean, rather than just having this battery sitting here doing nothing and the panel doing nothing, it's been good just to keep this battery maintained with enough juice to keep running the desulfator. But we'll do the new wiring and I'll show you that. Better get on with it. It's the end of the day now and I've completed my 2 tasks. I'll show the backup battery bank one first. Here's the new connections to the tractor battery. I may add the desulfator. I was considering whether to put an inductor on there, but I figured that these wires are long enough, there should be sufficient inductance because they're not twisted or anything like that. They're side by side, so they're long, there's some inductance there. Should be enough to keep the spikes down with this battery instead of going through to the other ones, where they would be no use because the other batteries of course are gel batteries, and desulfators, if they do work at all, only work on flooded batteries, contrary to what many people that have fitted these snake oil devices will claim. They only work on flooded batteries. Remember that. So here we go. I've rejigged my terminals here. It looks quite impressive now, doesn't it? I did take a bit of time and care in deciding which way to reorder these, but I'll just go through it quickly. This is the existing feed here down to the battery, and that's the negative return there. That goes through these wires outside to the tractor battery. So that's fine, it's normal. These 2 wires here are from the stack of gel batteries down here, which you cannot desulfate. Anyway, these 2 batteries, wires here, that negative of course is just bonded to that one. There's a little strap, if you can see in there, strapping those 2 terminals together, so that's all common. These 2 terminals are all common. However, the positive is fed through this diode. So what that basically means is that the 2 gel batteries always see the voltage drop of this diode less than the tractor battery. We say it's 0.6, 0.7, but the truth of the matter is that the voltage drop of a diode does vary significantly with current. Maybe not quite as much as a resistor, but it does, because there is some resistance in a diode. That's probably why. A perfect diode wouldn't, of course, have any characteristic voltage drop across it. So what I'm hoping is that I can get my tractor battery pumped up nice and full, following the Tesla chargers principle, which I do believe in for some situations, of pumping it up nice and high, while at the same time these gel batteries will be fed a little bit less than they were, and hopefully put an end to that frothing, which I did successfully stop in their previous life on the other circuit. So that's the deal. Issues? Well, maybe this standard rectifier diode will provide too much of a voltage drop. I can get around that by bringing these into circuit to compensate for that, or I may in fact change it for something else like a Schottky. If these batteries here run down and it starts pulling current through from the tractor battery, is this diode going to be ballsy enough to handle that? We'll find out. Fuses, well, there's a circuit breaker between the batteries and the charge controller. Nothing between this battery and this battery, so the diode is basically the fuse. You get a high current through these, they explode, so that's the fuse for now. If this diode is the permanent one, I'll fit a fuse between them, maybe a breaker so I can switch the batteries in and out, but I don't see any particular reason to deunite the battery sets there. Of course, there's still a good reason to disconnect the batteries from the charge controller. It still thinks there's sun, but there's not much charging going on now. Naturally, of course, I complete these projects always at the end of the day. How many days to in bulk is it now? 4. 4 days to in bulk. it's getting on in the day and just a bit more light in the evenings now, which is kind of cool. 4 days to in bulk. Amazing. Oh, that's something I wanted to mention. I'll do it now before I show the other thing I was working on today. The flashing light competition, the flashing light prize 2017. I really wanted to put an entry into that, but by the time I found out about it, I was just too busy in July to do anything about it. I had several ideas that I wanted to try. I think that's an amazing competition. I totally enjoyed watching all the different ways people did it, and I think I learnt some things from different people there that they were using to flash a light, which is, you know, pretty trivial, but some of those principles that were used there could be applied to more sophisticated circuits to do more important jobs. Very cool. I think it's a great thing. So yeah, next year, if it runs, I should have some kind of entry in there. Okay, before this gets too long, which it already has, all my videos turn into rants, I'm going to swing over here. It's getting a bit dark down here, but there's the new gel battery in situ. Its terminals were the opposite way around to the Newton power starter battery, but that was no problem. Negative's now over here to the left. The positive has got a new cable here because I didn't really want the inductor in series with it. That was just because I was going to put a desulfator on the Newton power battery, but I never got round to it. Well, this is a gel battery, there will be no desulfator on that, so I thought I'd just upgrade the cable to something a little bit heavier. This came out of the tractor battery circuit, so it got immediate reuse. That's why it was kind of good doing those two projects together. But yeah, that's as it stands. The thing I was worried about doing this was, you've probably seen my videos on the Hendrix inverter and the trouble I went to get that going and stuff. I was a bit paranoid that it's been running for all these months. I'd turn it off and then it wouldn't start up again when I turn it on. Well, there was no issues there. In fact, earlier before I even started this, I did a trial run shutting that down for a few minutes and firing it back up just to put my mind at ease. Yeah, but no problems with that. I did have an interesting issue though. When I fired the charge controller up again, it was doing that strange instability thing that I installed that capacitor a couple of months ago to fix. Well, I cured it again by getting rid of all that Hanamana LED and resistors that were all hanging down here and just going back to the original connection, which is through a really high value resistor inside that bit of tubing there. It's about half a meg. So I think with this capacitor in place, it was alright to go with the original coupling. I'll investigate that a little bit further in the days to come, but hey, it's working now, so yeah. Because that's the thing when you make homemade stuff, you know, you kind of run into instability issues here and there that you've got to solve, but that's part of the fun of electronics, especially analog electronics. Well, probably digital electronics too, but I don't tend to do much of that. That's about it. Won't be testing the transformer out again today because it's been a lovely sunny day and there'll be no generator run tonight on day 941 off the grid.